The New York Knicks get their win of the season, crushing the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we see when this team is firing on all cylinders, they look a hell of a lot like a championship team.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is Gavin Schall. I'm a New York City native and a credentialed media member that's been covering the Knicks for a decade. He is XJ. He's the co-host of the Hot Hand Theory, and he's also a New York City native. And this is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving the most detailed insight on your favorite team 5 days a week. And we want to drive home. Please throw us a sub. We are approaching 10,000. Really want to hit that mark. That's just like this Knicks team. That's when I'll know we've made it as a legitimate podcast. And be sure to also subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It is the single best way you can help us grow the show. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. XJ, we are talking the win of the season, the quarter of the season for the New York Knicks. Josh Hart, I might have been wrong. It seems like he's playing even better and shooting even better with the broken finger. Mitchell Robinson finally looks like himself. He was an absolute monster, changing the game in just 16 minutes on the floor. A bounce back third quarter from Jalen Brunson. Some demon activity on both ends of the floor from OG Anunoby. Man, I've rarely been more excited to get into a podcast. A 137-114 win for the Knicks over the Minnesota Timberwolves. And before we get into it, there's just something about playing this Minnesota team. You rewind 2 seasons ago, first game of the OG Anunoby tenure. Julius Randle, ironically, cooks them in the fourth quarter, and that set off the best month the Knicks have had in the last 25 seasons. Last year, Cat just has that, all-time annihilating second quarter where he cooks Rudy Gobert. The Knicks scored 50 points. They had something like 80 in the first half. They blow the doors off the Timberwolves. That showed you the ceiling of last year's team. And now just 8 games into this year, XJ, we see the ceiling when this team is firing at all cylinders in that third quarter, in the fourth, 40 in the third, 83 total points in the second half. It was wild. It was amazing.
Absolutely amazing to see literally everyone on the team play really, really well. Literally see everything that everybody on the team brings as far as their strengths and their specific strengths that other guys don't bring nearly as well as they do. That's what maximization looks like. That's what optimization looks like, when every guy is doing things that they do particularly well, that they have a competitive advantage over every other player in the NBA, and they're doing those things, and those things are impacting the win in a positive way. That's what we mean. So now when I talk about optimization and maximization, I don't have to talk about it. I can just say, hey, go watch the third quarter of the Knicks versus Timberwolves game, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Really, really incredible. You laid it all out extremely well, as always. Jalen Brunson showed us what he does, scoring, leading this way, scoring in the third quarter. Also had some great passes. We also saw Mitchell Robinson with his defensive impact. And it's so weird with Mitchell Robinson how he could just not play, miss games, and come back and just be so impactful immediately. It's strange. Where's the ramp up period? Doesn't seem to be necessary for him sometimes. He had that one great play. I don't remember what quarter it was in where he blocked a shot, came back the other way, and then got a dunk. And it was just or it might have been the opposite, but I was just wow, okay, Mitch looks really, really good. We have the demon. OG Anunoby was a complete monster in the second half, showing us, and to me, the biggest thing that stood out about the OG Anunoby game was the offensive rebounding, and the rebounding overall for OG Anunoby has been out of this world this season, unbelievable. Forget about the shot making. Forget about some people on Twitter saying he should take fewer 3-point shots. Take double, OG. Take twice as many 3-point shots. Don't listen to these people. Keep shooting the ball. Keep rebounding the ball. He played extremely well. The guy that should just be known as the plus-minus king, Miles McBride, was a killer. Every minute he plays on the court, the Knicks are winning those minutes. It's really incredible. And I can go on and on. The list goes on and on. Jordan Clarkson playing within himself. Again, we had a recent episode talking about were we wrong on Jordan Clarkson. I really hope this new Jordan Clarkson is sustainable, because he didn't have a major impact in this game, but he played well within himself. And I think every one of his minutes were really, really quality as well. So It's just super exciting. How could you not be excited if you're a Knicks fan? You saw the potential. You saw the potential on display. And to be honest, this is not even as good as it can get. It can get better than this, guys. That's the thing. It can get better than this. And this is what we envision when we look at this roster and we imagine the best case scenario for the roster. We imagine it looking like this on a decent night, on a regular night, on a good night. And on a great night, it can get better. So that's what I'm really excited about. But let's talk more about this game. And I want to hear what else you have to say about that third quarter and second half, Gavin.
Yeah. I'll continue to stay broad because I think it's a point worth driving home. I mean, over the last couple of seasons, Leon Rose has and the entire front office, frankly, have put together some exceptional rosters and some exceptional like modern rosters in terms of the versatility of how they can attack you. And under Tom Thibodeau, I know I told you XJ I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to mention his name. I'm going to take my shot. The Knicks just like were not maximized. Like they didn't hit all the different marks in terms of like the versatility the roster presented. Tom Thibodeau fit them into like a very tight frame. And I think within that frame, to be clear, Tom Thibodeau got everything possible out of this team. Like he maximized his style of play. What I love about Mike Brown so far is like he's going to hit you in a bunch of different ways. Like you see the power ball. And this is the first time all year we've gotten that, right? With a healthy Josh Hart, with a healthy-ish Josh Hart, but he looked like a healthy Josh Hart, a mostly healthy Mitchell Robinson. And you start to see the rim pressure element, right? The Knicks finished with 21 offensive rebounds in this game, 9 of them in 16 minutes for Mitchell Robinson. The pressure he can put on you as a rim runner, right? Like we saw Jalen Brunson in his, maybe the play of the game, for him, where he runs a pick and roll with Mitch. Both Wolves stay with him. It was Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels follow Jalen Brunson. Anthony Edwards steps down to tag Mitchell Robinson, and Jalen has gotten so good at this. He stares down Mikal Bridges, who is Anthony Edwards' man, at the top of the arc. He's going to pass it to him for a wide open three. Ant bails to rush out to Mikal, and Jalen zips a no-look pass to Mitch, who actually caught it and dunked the ball. And then to your point, like that dunk he had before the block was off of Josh Hart. Like again, rim pressure. Like he beats a closeout up and under. Mitchell Robinson flushes it. And you see Chris Finch take a timeout and scream at his team, according to Katie George, why the F are we closing out on Josh Hart? He could go 9 for 10. We do not close out on Josh Hart. But you saw the Wolves start to do it because Josh Hart was shooting the ball well. And we got to see Josh both in transition and in the half court apply legitimate rim pressure. And if Josh is going to shoot it well and teams are going to close out on him, like the Knicks are just going to become unguardable because you run out of options on when to leave someone. And to that point, the Knicks starters from last year that flailed so many times in big games, they play more minutes than any other Knicks lineup. I think specifically because of how Josh was shooting the ball makes that lineup accessible. And they weren't dominant, but they were quite good. They outscored Minnesota 22-17 in those 7.5 minutes. We have to continue to see how that evolves. They had 146.7 offensive rating during that time. That is obviously just ridiculous. That is really, really exciting. And they play with that physicality, but then you also see them lean into the 5 out. Like during the first half, we got a bunch of action with Karl Anthony Towns at the 5, and you saw Cat like thrive as that hub, top of the arc. Like he hit Jordan Clarkson on just a beauty of a pass. And him and Clarkson have developed really good chemistry in that 2-man game where Clarkson like darts in as if he's going to go for the dribble handoff. And you saw Minnesota from the get-go really, really overplaying the dribble handoff, better than other teams have defended it with more intensity. They trip the Knicks up initially, and then they start countering. The next time, Clarkson just cuts off it. It also opened up this real conundrum for Minnesota where they had Naz Reid and Rudy Gobert in the game, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe it was Julius and Rudy. But the point was the Knicks went small, and they had OG and Cat, and like basically 5 out, like with Cat in. Let me pull up the lineup. I have it right here. The lineup was Deuce, Clarkson, Mikal, OG, Cat. And when the Knicks go 5 out, Rudy initially guards Cat, and Cat just toasts him off the dribble for a one-handed dunk. So the next possession, Chris Finch is like, all right, I'm switching him on to OG Anunoby, and Deuce McBride does a great point guard thing. He waves Cat out of the play, and he says, no, bring Rudy into this. We want to go at Rudy. OG comes up, sets a screen, pops off it. Rudy just got dunked on, doesn't want to get blown by again. He plays off OG. OG puts a 3 in his eye. So you're seeing the Knicks win with this bully ball style and with 5 out. And like, just like, this is, I think, everything we wanted actually. And it's a testament to the roster Leon Rose built. And it's a testament to this team for executing on it.
I love all your points, especially about the flexibility of the roster, the ability to be able to win in multiple ways and to dominate a team and to have alternatives to go to when a team tries to slow you down in a particular way. You can go to all different kinds of lineup constructions and other options. And the Knicks really showed that in this game. I just want to just one quick add on to what you were saying. And you were talking about a bit about, to me, I was hearing that the ceiling outcome is really what's important. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I think the ceiling outcome for a team, being able to play at the best possible version of what your team is capable of being, that is how you beat the best teams in the league. That is how you win an NBA championship. You're not going to beat these teams more times than not if you're not playing at your ceiling. You could forget about the floor. Floors don't win championships. Ceilings win championships. And the ceiling is a roof, as we all know. And so I just think it's so important to drill that home because, yeah, could the Knicks win playing in particular style the way that they played last season? Of course they could. And so, yeah, you might look like you're taking a step back if you lose games early by trying to add all this stuff in. And from a Knicks fan perspective, it might be like, why are we trying to add all this stuff in? We were already really good. Like, what's the point of this?
Yeah.
And you're seeing the point of it. The point of it is that when you play this way and you have this ceiling outcome, you can actually pursue an NBA championship and beat the best teams in the league. Minnesota Timberwolves are a really, really good team. I don't think we saw really a healthy Anthony Edwards, but regardless, these are the best teams and these are the guys you're going to have to beat. And the only way to get there is by playing at your ceiling, not at your floor.
Yeah, and they nailed it tonight. And it is like, I did not expect them to get here 8 games into the season. The fact that we're seeing flashes of this, and to your point, there's all I think this is the template for what it's going to look like, but there are all these like small margins where they could still improve both individually and collectively. Like the chemistry in terms of running this offense, in terms of getting to those hit aheads that Mike Brown loves, is only going to continue to get better. But when we come back, let's get into some specifics. I want to talk even more glowingly about Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson, because, man, those two set the tone in this one. But first, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Gusto's automated tools offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save me hours every single week. And knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you a real peace of mind. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months free. 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, that's gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, what's up, guys? We are back here on Locked On Knicks. Gavin Schall, XJ, Bud. I'm gonna toss it to you. Mitchell Robinson, Josh Hart. I'm gonna throw OG in there because I didn't realize how good his stats were. 25, 8, 10 of 17 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. 2 of the craziest putbacks I've ever seen. Like, which of those 3 guys you want to hit on first?
The guy for me is going to be Josh Hart, man. Josh Hart, I'm laughing because it's like, you just never know what to expect with Josh Hart. It's actually incredible. I did not see this kind of game and performance coming. I definitely expected Chris Finch to play him the way that the Timberwolves did, put Rudy Gobert on him, allow Gobert to lurk around the basket, and not change that up. And you mentioned the quote earlier, and you mentioned what Chris Finch said, and I really appreciate that perspective from him because there's a lot of coaches in the league who would say, oh, he hit his first 2 or he hit his first 2 out of 3. Let's switch it up now. And the way that you win with that strategy is that you persist with that strategy and you bet on the numbers working out in your favor over the long run. And the fact that Josh Hart was aggressive in shooting those threes, I don't care if he made them, to be honest. Like, and I say this all the time about Josh Hart, like, he's going to make some games. He's not going to make some games. I just want him to shoot it. And he was aggressive, hit a corner 3, hit above the break 3, hit the opposite corner 3. There was one shot that he passed up that was a little bit frustrating because that really affects the offense when the Knicks work so hard to create an advantage. And then the advantage comes to fruition with a wide open 3. And then Josh Hart passes it up. And then the Knicks have to kind of hopefully maintain a percentage of that advantage and get a slightly worse shot. And I understand why he did it. He's not going to go out there and shoot 15 threes. He's not going to be that level of comfort. But the fact that he was able to knock down those threes and took them with aggression when he could, and also was collapsing the defense as we know that he's able to do. It's not just the shooting, but it's the energy level, the aggression, the attacking the basket, the passing, all the things that we know of Josh Hart, the transition. He said it in his half, I don't remember, he was interviewed at some point, and maybe after the first quarter or second quarter.
Yeah. It wasn't part of the fourth. Maybe it was another time. But yeah.
Yes. It was either the first, second, third, or fourth, Gavin. That is correct. I agree with you on that. He talked about that's just playing up tempo, playing in transition, playing fast, and he always talks about it. But he's the one guy who is not paying lip service to it. He really means it. And when he says we got to push the ball, he means when you give me the ball, I will do that. And I love that he does that. I love his aggression. I love how he plays off of other guys. And he just had a really complete game to me, and his confidence looks like it's coming back and it's there. And in a lot of ways, that's almost the biggest attribute for him. So, forget about the points, the 18 points, the 4 or 5 from 3. All of that is great. The rebounds were great. Everything that he did was great. But to me, it was the confidence. It was the vocalness, it was the just aggression and pushing the pace and all of those things that we do, the Josh Hart stuff that we see, and just being willing to put himself in these situations where he has to make a play and he's able to make the play that is necessary and that the team requires from him, despite whatever he might think as far as like confidence or the finger or all those other things. It's just great that we saw him play in that way. And so that's why he's the guy that I focus on. And he was like, really, OG probably was the best player. Jalen Brunson played really great. Cat had great moments. Mitch had great moments. Josh Hart was the player of the game to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. When he plays like this, the Knicks look like an all-star team, and like frankly, like the kind of group that maybe Cleveland, we know Oklahoma City is going to be on that level, and maybe even another step, maybe even beyond that level, just because their defense is going to hit like highs that the Knicks are never going to hit on that end of the floor, and their offense has maybe a similar ceiling. But I don't want to get down the dumps because Oklahoma City exists. Like Josh takes them to a place they can't get to when he doesn't play like that. Maybe that's obvious. Maybe they say, well, if this guy doesn't hit his ceiling, the Knicks can't be at their best. But he is like such a ceiling raiser for this team. And when he starts attacking the rim, like they just become impossible to guard. And to your point, that's exactly why we get that quote from Finch. But he had like right before Minnesota took that timeout, he took a charge on Julius Randle. And then on the other end, Naz Reid closes out, not supposed to do that. Drives by him, draws 4 guys, double clutch pass out to Jalen Brunson for 3. And then like at that point, like if you have to respect him, there just isn't really any answers in terms of how you guard that Knicks starting lineup. So why teams are constantly willing to live with him taking those shots, even in the games where they start going in. And I appreciate it because I saw that same possession where we passed one up. I loved like halfway through the third, like he hits a walk-up one where they just dared him to shoot. And he said, all right, bet, I'm going to shoot it. At the end of the game, like stayed confident, drive, little turnaround jumper on Clark. You see him defensively, I thought, was really, really good in this game. And it certainly helped that Anthony Edwards was a shell of himself, but I thought the like 60% version of Anthony Edwards, Josh Hart is a perfect matchup for that guy. Like he's strong enough to stick with his bumps, fast enough to slide with him. Like he did really good there, played some great help defense. One more offensive play I wanted to note. He screened for Jalen Brunson. Rudy stuck around to show on it, tried to recover to Josh, and Josh just beat the recovery and slipped it to Cat, cutting for a layup. We saw maybe just because his cardio wasn't back, Mike Brown was a little reticent to use him heavily as a screener with Jalen. We know from the Tibbs days that can work and work well, and especially with the spacing the Knicks have found, the dynamism the Knicks have found around him, I think that could be even more powerful this year. But let's switch it over to OG Anunoby. What did you think of his night? Because I mean, there were just some flashes of like, he has games where he looks like really stuck in the mud. And he's similar to like, do you remember, I think it was 2018 where Brian Windhorst had that stat that LeBron was moving less than anyone in the NBA. There's a lot of that in OG's game where like he's walking, like you could see him and you would think he's like a retired player from the 90s that just busted both of his knees. And then out of nowhere, you just get these bursts of 100th percentile athleticism, and it wows you because you weren't sure if that guy could jog without grimacing just a second ago, and we got a bunch of that in this game.
That was such a great summary because that is the feeling of watching OG. It's almost like nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
Like nothing makes sense. He should not be as good a shooter as he is with his shot form. It looks bizarre. He makes 40% of them somehow. Defensively, he should not be able to stay in front of the guys that he's able to stay in front of, but he's able to do it. Athletically, he doesn't seem to be that athletic. Somehow is able to jump over guys, dunk on over guys, be able to guard someone like Julius Randle, be able to do all of these things on both ends of the court. And it just feels like, how does he do it? Get 5 offensive rebounds in a game, which is really incredible. It's like you can't underrate how important that offensive and defensive rebounding is from the guy OG Anunoby, especially when he plays primarily next to Cat at the 5. All of that gang rebounding is really, really important. But also his passing was really sharp as well. Like he was doing a lot of driving and kicking, attacking, closeouts, being able to get towards the rim and drawing guys the way that you mentioned Josh Hart doing it. OG Anunoby can do that stuff too. And so I think it's almost like we're seeing all of these Knicks players in a weird way sort of blending to all become like the same player. And by that, I mean, they're all guys who can shoot, dribble, pass, drive to the rim, finish, and do all the things that basketball players do. And I love that, and Mike Brown has talked about this, using these guys interchangeably, and it's sort of like they all have different skill sets, but it's like they all can kind of do everything involved in playing basketball at a high level. OG Anunoby is one of those guys, despite him looking like that's probably not the case. He definitely can, and we obviously know what his skills are. He got a great steal, and that led to a transition basket for him. But that being said, he's just playing at a really, really high level, doing all of the things involved in playing basketball. Josh Hart does those things too, and Mikal Bridges does those things too. And so if we see those guys become truly interchangeable and play like this at this high a level, that bodes so well for the long-term health of the team, both offensively and defensively. So that was my favorite thing about OG Anunoby this game.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about him, and I want to get into Mitchell Robinson. Man, nothing fires me up like a good Mitch game. We'll get into that next right here on Locked On Knicks. But first, we want to tell you about our buddies over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel's live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making a late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's keep it rolling on OG Anunoby. You nailed it. I just wanted to go over some specific plays just because he did some freak. I can't say the second word I want to say there, but he did some freak stuff in this one. The reverse tip-in he had, like that would be something you think you see in the NBA, and I'm sure Ja Morant has done it or someone's done it, but I don't remember ever seeing that watching a basketball game, like him just like getting essentially reverse layup tip. And that was crazy. The play you mentioned, just like I highlighted in the Wizards game, the play where he blew up like 2 different screens, like the Terminator, and then poked the ball away from CJ McCollum and got a dunk. He did it again in this one where he just like, he went like, I'll reference an old timey linebacker, Paul Posluszny. I think he went to Penn State. Luke Kuechly would be another guy. Like just goes like deranged early 2000s linebacker, a Naz Reid, flies through him, beats Randall to the ball, tips it up the court, goes coast to coast for a layup. That was sick. Had another crazy fly-in putback for an and one after like Cat got away with a foul, then Ant fouled him, and then OG said, screw this, I'm ending it, and just crashed through 2 guys, put it in as he was falling down. I cringe every time he hits the ground. It happens a lot, but he seems to be okay of late. And then like the capper was just like, he had a diving offensive rebound to set up Deuce for 3 in Rudy's eye. That felt like the shot that like was like, all right, this game is just out of reach. The Knicks are going to coast to a victory. Again, I'll shout out my guy, Tom Thibodeau, because like this, like the level of effort and the culture that he imbued on this team has staying power. And that's a testament to him. And it's a testament to Mike Brown for maintaining it, because we talk about the talent, we talk about the versatility, we talk about the physicality, like none of it works without that like killer 100th percentile effort that like just all the best teams in the NBA and all the teams that end up winning a championship have in some form or fashion. And it's defined the Knicks the last few years. And I think the good news for Knicks fans who were like scared when Tibbs left is like that has maintained even as like they've gotten a little bit more sophisticated in their tactics and their lineups. But Mitchell Robinson, he's probably the player that defines that. I know we've kind of like touched on him in a tertiary fashion so far. Was there anything else you had to say about his night, or would you want to jump to someone else?
I'm going to let you talk about Mitch a little bit. I'm just going to spend a quick minute talking about Deuce McBride here, because if I don't talk about Deuce McBride, my podcast co-host Jeff will literally come to my house and murder me. So we will like not allow
like a secret Deuce political super PAC out there that you're getting like $1,000 a week from.
Yeah. It's I'm contractually obligated to mention Deuce McBride here. Deuce McBride, I thought played his best game of the season. I thought he was so impactful, because we normally think about Deuce being impactful from his shooting. Obviously, he took 5 threes, and that is high volume for the amount of minutes that he played. He made 2 of them, 40% from 3, but it went way beyond that. Like, you can see how he impacts the box score and the bottom line, and has a top-down impact, we call it, in so many different ways, from his gravity, his decision-making. One play that Jeff actually flagged to me, and I was thinking the same thing, we were watching at the same time thinking the same thing, was where the Wolves basically switched Rudy Gobert on to Deuce McBride, saying like, we'll live with this switch because we don't think Deuce is going to kill us off the dribble. Like, what is he actually going to do? But actually, Deuce kind of backed up. He got the ball. He backed up looking like he was going to attack Gobert. He got some help from the strong side corner, Gobert did. And as soon as that player started to creep towards Deuce McBride to give a little bit of help just to shade over, Deuce swings a pass and whips it directly to Jordan Clarkson, who hits a wide open corner 3. Cash. That was a huge shot that I thought that happened. And it just showed Deuce's decision making. And it goes into the books. It's like, it's an assist and it's fine. But it's like, the reading of that situation and the quick processing that went into that is a stride forward for Deuce McBride. And it shows me that he's continuing to get better, although he hasn't had consistent minutes yet. And although we obviously know him as a shooter and know him as a perimeter defender, and he still does those things at an incredibly high level, he's starting to add other components to his game. He looked really comfortable as a ball handler, and he was able to get into the paint for many different occasions, and we don't see him do it as often. He looked really good as a lead ball handler in some situations in this game as well. And so I thought Deuce McBride just all around had a really, really strong and impactful game. So I wanted to give him a shout out here as well.
Yeah,
and the Super PAC is paying for it. So
yeah, there we go. We got to put it like as like a transparency note in our episode description, like who we're getting funded by. But he was sick. I already mentioned like he's doing more point guardy stuff this year, which is something like he has historically really struggled, and the Knicks have been dramatically worse the last 2 seasons when they've asked Deuce to play point guard versus when they asked him to play shooting guard. And maybe that's just because that means Jalen Brunson's on the floor when he's playing the 2. But he's starting to figure that out a little bit. The only other play I wanted to mention with him that stood out to me was like Dante pressed him, and like Deuce's eyes lit up, and he was like, all right, man, this isn't 2 years ago when you probably tortured me in practice doing that. And he just sped right by him, coast to coast, through the heart of the defense for a layup. That is at least the second time this year. Maybe there have been even more, including preseason. I've seen Deuce just take it like straight up, coast to coast for a layup. And coming off last season where he shot something like 2% on layups, I think we talked about this like over the summer. There was a stat that might be like just mythological. I don't know if this was actually real, that he missed something like 50 straight layups at one point last season. He's gotten a lot better at that. Also hit a foul line jumper in this one. He's been a little cold from mid-range to start this year. So excited to see that get going. I will finish this off shouting out Mitchell Robinson. They flashed this on the ESPN broadcast. If I read it correctly, he moved to 3rd in Knicks history with 1,242 career offensive rebound for a franchise that's been around for 70 years and has had some absolute bruisers. That's incredible. Shout out to Mitch. I get teary-eyed anytime he accomplishes anything, because like just watching him as a raw rookie when there was no reason for hope as a Knicks fan, like he was kind of the one thing we had going when we first started this podcast. And it is so cool to see him still be relevant 8 years later and be such a key piece on a potential championship team. And from the opening second, you knew you were getting like playoff Mitch, and it is still like, even outside of the Tom Thibodeau like universe, like it's still just a revelation. Like offensive rebound to create an open 3 for McHale, Mikal missed, and then he battles. It goes off Devo. He just creates extra possessions that he will never get credit for. And then he just starts bullying Rudy Gobert, who we've mentioned a lot. He's seemingly lost a step, which is not good for Minnesota, but bullied him for a rebound. Gets the ball out to Jalen Brunson. Brunson airballs a three. He catches it and puts it back in at the first quarter horn. That was great. Then he had a 2-play sequence. I think this was the one you referenced in the third quarter, where he blocked Ant, then knocked away his entry pass for a steal, then an offensive rebound off an OG miss for an and one dunk. I mentioned the pick and roll with him. I mentioned the Mikal pick and roll where he got another put back dunk off that Josh Hart miss. It was like he was just also torturing Julius Randle, who absolutely killed the Knicks in the first half. Randle and Devo are both cooking. They combined for 53 points in this game. They had 30 combined in the first half. It was painful to watch. Mitch was a big part about tamping that down as this one went along. I don't know if you have any final notes on this. I want to let the audience know, just because we didn't get to Jalen Brunson. We didn't get to Mikal, who had some fun flashes. I thought Cat had a really good game. You said it. Clarkson had a really good game. I will do an extra episode Friday going over like just closing some nits in this one. But anything else you wanted to get off your chest on the Knicks win of the season?
No, I'm excited for that extra episode. So subscribe to Locked On Knicks if you haven't already. And then you will hear Gavin get to go on his diatribe about how good Jordan Clarkson is. Who would want to miss that? And so, no, in all seriousness, no, I have nothing else to say. I think it was just an amazing game, and really looking forward to see the Knicks play this way more often moving forward, because that would just be so exciting for what their future could entail. So looking forward to hearing your additional thoughts.
I couldn't believe it. They have 4 days off. They don't play again until Sunday. They play the Nets. It would be really bad news if that is not a 4-game winning streak for the New York Knicks, but we'll have you covered then and with a couple pods in between. But until then, he's XJ. Check him out everywhere on social media. Check out Hot Hand Theory. I'm Gavin Schall, and this has been Locked On Knicks. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.